Dr. Amanda Harrison squinted at the quantum readings scrolling across her holographic display, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. Something was wrong with the numbers, or perhaps something was finally right. The underground laboratory hummed with the steady pulse of the quantum accelerator, its rhythmic thrumming matching her quickening heartbeat. "Run it again," she commanded the system, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. The lab's advanced AI compiled the data once more, and the same impossible results flashed across her screen. The quantum particles weren't just entangled, they were locked in their optimal state, refusing to collapse into any less favorable configuration. The discovery had started as a routine attempt to improve faster-than-light communications. The military had demanded better response times, complaining that the current quantum entanglement systems suffered too much degradation over interstellar distances. But what Harrison had stumbled upon was something far more significant. She reached for her tablet, fingers dancing across its surface, as she cross-referenced her findings with established quantum theory. According to everything humanity knew about physics, this shouldn't be possible. Quantum states were supposed to be probabilistic, existing in superposition until observed. But here, right in front of her, particles were stubbornly refusing to follow the rules. "Dr. Harrison." Lieutenant James Morrison's voice crackled through the intercom, making her jump. "The general is asking about today's progress report." "Tell him." She paused, staring at the data streams. "Tell him I need to verify something first." The next 6 hours vanished in a blur of calculations and simulations. Harrison barely noticed when her assistant left for the night, or when the automatic lights dimmed to their evening setting. Her mind raced with possibilities. If she could scale this effect up, if she could apply it to larger systems. The implications hit her like a physical force, causing her to stumble back from her workstation. This wasn't just about communications anymore. She had discovered a way to manipulate probability itself, to force quantum systems into their most advantageous states. The military applications were staggering. At exactly 3:47 a.m., Harrison sent a heavily encrypted message to General Marcus Reynolds, head of the Advanced Defense Research Division. The response was immediate. All other projects were to cease. Her lab would be receiving new clearance levels and additional funding. Project Schrödinger was about to begin. Within days, her quiet research facility transformed into a bustling hub of military activity. New security checkpoints appeared overnight, and teams of engineers and quantum physicists were quietly transferred in from other bases. Harrison found herself at the center of it all, explaining her discovery to rooms full of officials with more stars on their shoulders than she could count. In simple terms, she explained to yet another panel of stern-faced generals, "We found a way to lock quantum systems into their most favorable states. Imagine rolling a die that always lands on 6, but not because it's weighted, because it's fundamentally impossible for it to land on any other number. And you can scale this up?" General Reynolds asked, leaning forward in his chair. Harrison nodded, pulling up a simulation on the main display. "Theoretically, we could apply this to any system. Weapons, shields, entire ships. We could create vessels that exist in a constant state of quantum advantage, always taking the optimal path through probability space." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. A ship that could never be hit because it would always be where the enemy wasn't shooting. Weapons that would never miss because they would only exist in the probability state where they struck their target. It was the ultimate military advantage. "How soon can you begin practical applications?" Reynolds asked, his voice tight with controlled excitement. Harrison looked around the room, meeting each pair of eyes in turn. "With unlimited resources, 3 years, maybe less. But there's something else you should know." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "In our initial tests, we've noticed something strange. The quantum lock systems don't just choose favorable outcomes. They seem to anticipate them. It's as if they're not just manipulating probability, but causality itself." The world changed that day in Harrison's underground lab, though most of humanity wouldn't know it for years to come. As she watched the military machine spring into action around her discovery, she couldn't help but wonder. Had she just handed humanity its greatest shield, or had she unlocked something that was never meant to be understood? 3 years later, Orbital Shipyard, Infinity's Edge. The UES Uncertainty hung in space like a dream made manifest, its quantum-infused hull reflecting starlight in impossible patterns. Dr. Amanda Harrison watched through the observation deck as construction drones swarmed around the massive vessel, applying the final layers of probability-locked plating. Even after 3 years, the sight still took her breath away. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Captain Sarah Reeves stepped up beside Harrison, her pristine uniform bearing the newly created Quantum Fleet insignia. "Hard to believe we're finally at the testing phase." Harrison nodded, her reflection ghostly in the reinforced glass. 3 years of theoretical work, and now we'll see if it actually... An alarm cut through her words, its urgent wailing echoing through the station's corridors. "Engineering to command. We have a critical failure in reactor section 7. The panic in the engineer's voice crackled through the station's comm system. "Containment fields are collapsing." Harrison's blood ran cold. Section 7 housed one of the experimental quantum cores, and if it breached, she ran to the nearest terminal, fingers flying across the holographic interface. The readings were impossible. The reactor should have already detonated, taking half the construction crew with it. But something else was happening. "This can't be right," she muttered, watching as system after system activated in perfect sequence. Emergency containment fields snapped into place microseconds before they were needed. Coolant systems engaged precisely when required. Every single safety protocol executed flawlessly, each one occurring at exactly the right moment to prevent catastrophe. Captain Reeves leaned over her shoulder, studying the data. Did the safety systems respond in time? "No," Harrison whispered, her eyes wide with realization. "They responded before they needed to. The quantum-locked systems, they're choosing the reality where we survive." The reactor stabilized, but Harrison's mind raced with implications. The ship wasn't just using her quantum-locking technology. It was extending it in ways she hadn't predicted. The uncertainty was actively manipulating probability across its entire structure, creating optimal outcomes before threats fully materialized. Hours later in the station's secure briefing room, Harrison faced a panel of military officials. The reactor incident had attracted attention from the highest levels of command. "Explain exactly what happened out there," General Reynolds demanded, his hologram flickering slightly from Earth transmission delay. Harrison took a deep breath. "The ship is exceeding our initial parameters. We designed it to lock quantum states into their most advantageous configurations, but it's doing more than that. It's creating cascading probability fields, effectively rewriting local cause and effect to ensure its own preservation." "In English, Doctor," one of the admirals growled. "It's making its own luck," she said simply, "but on a quantum level, and at a scale we never imagined possible. The reactor incident should have been a disaster, but the ship chose a different reality. One where everything went right." The implications stunned the room into silence. They had set out to build humanity's most advanced warship, but they'd created something that bordered on the impossible, a vessel that could manipulate the very fabric of reality. Testing continued over the next months, and each demonstration left observers more awestruck than the last. Simulated weapons fire would mysteriously malfunction before reaching the hull. Targeting systems would experience random errors when trying to lock onto the ship. The uncertainty didn't just avoid damage, it made damage impossible. Standing on the observation deck one evening, watching another successful test, Harrison confided in Captain Reeves. "We thought we were building a warship, but we've created something else entirely. The uncertainty isn't just a vessel anymore. It's becoming a nexus of quantum manipulation, and it's still growing stronger." "Is that a problem?" Reeves asked quietly. Harrison watched as the massive ship seemed to shimmer in the starlight, its quantum field bending reality around it like a lens. "I don't know," she admitted. "But we're about to find out. Long-range sensors picked up something an hour ago. Multiple objects approaching from deep space, moving faster than anything we've ever seen. The era of humanity standing alone in the cosmos was about to end, and the uncertainty would face its first real test, not against simulated threats, but against an alien force that had dominated the stars for 1,000 years. The United Nations Assembly Hall had never been so silent. 3,000 alien vessels hung in Earth's orbit, their massive forms blotting out the stars like an artificial constellation of death. The Vlith's first message had been simple: submit or perish. Dr. Amanda Harrison stood at the back of the chamber, her fingers curled tightly around a data tablet displaying the Uncertainty's current status. Beside her, Captain Reeves watched the alien hologram materialize above the podium, its form stretching nearly to the ceiling. The Vlith commander's appearance sent a ripple of gasps through the assembly. Standing 4 meters tall, its exoskeletal armor gleamed with an oily iridescence. Multiple compound eyes surveyed the chamber with cold calculation, and when it spoke, its mandibles clicked in perfect synchronization with the universal translator. Your species has achieved spaceflight recently. The commander's translated voice filled the chamber. You have colonized your solar system. You have begun to harness quantum technologies. This makes you a threat to be eliminated, rather than a resource to be harvested. Harrison's tablet vibrated. The Uncertainty's quantum field was reacting to the alien presence, its probability matrices shifting in ways she'd never seen before. The ship was preparing itself, even now, calculating countless possible futures. The Vlith commander continued, each word dripping with millennia of absolute authority. We have conquered 12 star systems. We have eliminated 37 spacefaring species. We have never failed. You have 24 of your Earth hours to surrender your worlds, your resources, and your technology. Those who submit willingly may be permitted to serve. The UN Secretary-General stepped forward, her voice steady despite the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. And if we refuse? The alien's mandibles spread in what might have been a smile. Then we will demonstrate why the Vlith Empire has remained undefeated for 1,000 years. Your cities will burn. Your oceans will boil. Your species will be remembered only as another failed resistance against inevitable domination. Harrison slipped out of the chamber. Reeves closed behind. In the secure communication room next door, General Reynolds waited with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The Uncertainty's holographic form floated above the tactical display, its quantum field visualized as a shifting aurora of probability. It's ready, Harrison announced, pulling up the latest diagnostic data. The ship's quantum systems are operating at 112% of projected capacity. It's like it knows what's coming. One ship against 3,000, Reynolds mused, studying the tactical overlay. The math doesn't look good. The math stopped being relevant the moment we activated the quantum core, Harrison countered. The Uncertainty doesn't obey normal probabilities. It creates them. The room erupted in argument. Some officers insisted on deploying Earth's entire defense fleet. Others wanted to evacuate as many humans as possible to the Mars colonies. A few even suggested surrender might save more lives. Enough. Captain Reeves's voice cut through the chaos. We built the Uncertainty for exactly this moment. Dr. Harrison's quantum technology works. We've all seen it. The ship hasn't just been preparing for combat. It's been preparing for this specific conflict. Harrison nodded, pulling up new data streams. The quantum field readings spiked the moment the Vlith arrived. It's as if the ship knew they were coming. Every test, every simulation, every malfunction has been leading to this moment. General Reynolds studied her face for a long moment. You're saying the ship has been preparing to face this exact threat. How is that possible? The Uncertainty doesn't just manipulate probability, Harrison explained, her voice quiet but intense. It exists in quantum superposition, with every possible future. In some way we don't fully understand yet, it's been glimpsing this moment since we first activated it, and it's been getting ready. The Secretary General's voice crackled over the secured channel. We need an answer for the Vlith. What are our real options? Harrison looked around the room, meeting each person's gaze. We have one ship that rewrites reality against an empire that's never known defeat. I say we show them why humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our refusal to submit to impossible odds. As if in response, the uncertainty's hologram pulsed brighter, its quantum field swirling with untold possibilities. The next 24 hours would determine not just humanity's fate, but whether the laws of physics themselves would bow before the will of an alien empire. Jupiter's swirling storms provided a dramatic backdrop as the UES uncertainty emerged from quantum-slipped space. Captain Sarah Reeves stood on the bridge, her crew silent and focused at their stations. They'd chosen this battlefield carefully, far enough from Earth to minimize civilian casualties, close enough to protect their home if they failed. Multiple contacts emerging from FTL, Lieutenant Park announced from the sensor station. 12 Vluk battlecruisers. Energy signatures indicate their planet-killer weapons are powering up. Dr. Amanda Harrison monitored the quantum core readings from her station. The ship's probability field was doing something she'd never seen before, its patterns shifting like a kaleidoscope of possibility. Captain, the quantum matrix is operating beyond theoretical limits. The ship, it's already calculating their attack patterns. The first Vlek ship fired, its weapon burning a hole through space itself. The blast should have vaporized the uncertainty instantly. Instead, the human vessel simply wasn't there when the beam arrived. No evasive maneuvers, no defensive shields. The ship had quantum shifted to the exact spot where the attack wouldn't be. Impossible. The Vluk commander's transmission crackled across their comms. Fire again. Full spread. A dozen planet-killer beams lanced out simultaneously, crossing space in a web of destruction that should have left no room for escape. The uncertainty's quantum field pulsed, and reality itself seemed to hiccup. Each world-ending blast found empty space, while the human ship appeared to dance between the beams in a ballet of impossibility. Weapons solution calculated, Weapons Officer Chen reported, her voice steady despite the unreality they were witnessing. Quantum torpedoes locked. Fire, Reeves commanded. The uncertainty's weapons weren't just guided by advanced targeting computers, they were guided by probability itself. Each torpedo existed in a quantum state of perfect accuracy, their trajectories calculated through layers of possibility, until impact was the only outcome that could exist. The first Vluk battlecruiser shields, impenetrable for a millennium, might as well have been missed. The quantum torpedo passed through them, as if they weren't there, striking the exact weakness point that would cascade through their systems. The massive alien vessel split apart in a silent explosion. How? The Vluk commander demanded. Our shields have never failed. Harrison watched her quantum readings with growing amazement. The torpedoes aren't breaking through their shields, Captain. They're existing in the quantum state where the shields were never there to begin with. 3 more Vlek ships exploded as their own weapons mysteriously malfunctioned, their energy cores destabilizing in precisely the right sequence to cause catastrophic failure. It wasn't just combat. It was reality itself choosing humanity's victory. Their targeting systems are failing across the board, Park reported. They can't get a lock on us. It's like we exist everywhere and nowhere at once. Harrison's eyes widened as she understood. The ship isn't dodging their attacks. It's choosing the reality where they already missed. It's not just calculating possibilities anymore. It's selecting them. The remaining Vluk vessels attempted to retreat, their FTL drives spooling up. But the uncertainty had already calculated this possibility, had already chosen the future where their escape would fail. Quantum torpedoes struck with surgical precision, disabling engines without destroying the ships. In less than 15 minutes, the battle was over. 12 of the most powerful warships ever built floated dead in space, defeated by a single vessel that had rewritten the rules of reality itself. Captain Reeves turned to Harrison. How many ships did we technically destroy? That's the thing, Harrison replied, still studying her readings. According to quantum mechanics, We didn't destroy any of them. We simply made their defeat the only possible outcome. The universe itself adjusted to make it happen. As they watched the disabled Vlekth ships drift against Jupiter's stormy backdrop, Harrison felt a chill run down her spine. The uncertainty hadn't just won a battle. It had demonstrated a power that went beyond weapons and shields. They had created something that could choose which version of reality would become true. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the rest of the Vlekth fleet was receiving word that their invincible warships had just been defeated by a single human vessel. The real war was about to begin. Aboard the Vlekth flagship, Eternal Dominion, Supreme Commander Kraz Tull watched the battle footage for the 100th time. His chief scientists had analyzed every frame, every sensor reading, every energy signature. Nothing made sense. "Explain this to me again," he growled, mandibles clicking in frustration. "How does a single human vessel defeat 12 of our most powerful ships?" Chief Scientist Vel Morin stepped forward, her crystalline data tablet trembling slightly in her clawed hands. "Supreme Commander, the human ship appears to be manipulating quantum probability fields at a scale we thought impossible. Our weapons didn't miss. They hit every possible location the ship could have been. Yet somehow, it existed where our calculations said it couldn't." Meanwhile, aboard the Uncertainty, Dr. Amanda Harrison was facing her own impossible readings. The quantum core's energy output had doubled since the battle, but their power consumption remained the same. She shared a worried look with Captain Reeves as new data scrolled across their screens. "The ship's getting stronger," Harrison explained, pulling up comparative analyses. "It's like the battle taught it something. The quantum field isn't just maintaining advantageous states anymore. It's actively seeking them out, creating them." Reeves frowned at the holographic displays. Could this be dangerous? Before Harrison could answer, Lieutenant Park's voice cut through their discussion. "Captain, we're detecting multiple stealth signatures at extreme range. The Vlekth are probing us." The Vlekth's most advanced stealth probes, vessels smaller than shuttles and cloaked with technology that had fooled every sensor network in known space, approached the Uncertainty with absolute confidence. They had never failed a reconnaissance mission in the Empire's history. The probes never stood a chance. One by one, they simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not detected and eliminated, they simply found themselves existing in quantum states where their missions had already failed. Reality itself conspired against their success. In the Eternal Dominion's war room, Kraz Tull received the impossible reports. All probes lost. How? They couldn't have detected them. They didn't. Vel Morin whispered, her scientific certainty shaken to its core. According to our readings, the probes existed in states of both success and failure until they approached the human ship. Then probability collapsed into absolute failure. Every time. Harrison watched the quantum readings spike with each vanished probe. "Captain, the ship isn't just defending itself anymore. It's reshaping local space-time. The quantum field extends nearly a light minute from our position now, and it's still growing." The Vlekth War Council convened an emergency session, their most brilliant minds gathering to face an enemy that defied their understanding of physics. They had conquered species with superior numbers, superior weapons, even superior technology. But this was different. The humans hadn't just created a better ship. They'd created something that rewrote the rules of reality itself. "Send in the combat drones," Kraz Tull ordered, ignoring the objections of his scientists. Thousands of them overwhelmed this quantum trickery with brute force. The attack came without warning. 10,000 combat drones, each capable of destroying the small moon, emerged from FTL around the Uncertainty. They attacked from every angle, using every frequency, every weapon type, every strategy developed over a millennium of warfare. What happened next would haunt the Vlekth observers forever. The drones didn't explode, didn't fail, didn't miss. Instead, they found themselves operating in a reality where their attacks had already been prevented. Some simply powered down. Others changed course to destroy each other. A few simply ceased to exist, probability itself rejecting their presence near the human vessel. Harrison stared at her readings in awe and fear. The quantum field, it's not just choosing favorable realities anymore, it's creating them. The ship is generating quantum states that shouldn't be possible, forcing the universe to accept them as real. Captain Reeves watched the last of the drone swarm disappear into quantum impossibility. What have we really created here, Doctor? I don't know anymore, Harrison admitted, watching the quantum field continue to expand, continue to grow stronger. But I think we're about to find out. The Vlekth won't take this humiliation lightly. They'll be back, with everything they have. Space tore open in 300 different locations simultaneously. The Vlekth Empire had arrived with their entire armada. Every warship, every carrier, every dreadnought they possessed. The fleet stretched across the solar system like a metallic galaxy, their ships blotting out the stars from Mercury to Mars. By the void itself, Lieutenant Park whispered from his sensor station, "I'm counting 312 capital ships. Energy readings are off the scale." Captain Reeves stood at the center of the Uncertainties Bridge, her face illuminated by the holographic tactical display. "Status of the quantum core, Dr. Harrison." Harrison's fingers danced across her console, interpreting the impossible readings before her. "The ship, it's laughing, Captain." "What?" "The quantum field is oscillating in patterns I've never seen before. It's like the ship isn't just ready for this fight, it's been waiting for it. The probability matrices are solving faster than we can measure them." Supreme Commander Kraz Toll's transmission cut through their discussion, his image dominating their main view screen. "Your quantum trickery ends today. No single vessel can stand against the combined might of the Vlekth Empire. Our victory is inevitable." The alien commander's words were still echoing when the first wave attacked. 100 ships fired simultaneously, their combined firepower enough to shatter a planet. The space around the uncertainty twisted, reality itself bending as probability collapsed into certainty. Not a single shot landed. "Impossible," Kraz full roared. "Fire everything. From every angle. No space for escape." The entire Vlekth armada opened fire, their weapons turning space itself into a lattice of death. Energy beams, quantum torpedoes, and exotic particles filled every possible vector of approach. There was nowhere for the uncertainty to go, no path to safety, no mathematical chance of survival. But the human ship didn't need to escape. It simply chose the reality where the attacks had already failed. "Multiple quantum states detected," Harrison reported, her voice filled with wonder. "The ship isn't just avoiding their attacks, it's existing in multiple probability states simultaneously. It's everywhere they're not shooting, and nowhere they are." The uncertainty's counterattack defied description. Its weapons struck from angles that shouldn't exist, passing through supposedly impenetrable shields as if they were merely suggestions. Each quantum torpedo split into countless probability streams, existing in superposition, until the moment of impact made success the only possible outcome. "Our shields," a Vlekth captain screamed over the command channel. "They're passing through them as if." His transmission cut off as his ship split apart, reality itself rejecting its continued existence. Harrison's eyes widened as she interpreted new readings. "Captain, the quantum field is evolving. It's not just affecting our ship anymore. It's rewriting probability across the entire battlefield. The laws of physics themselves are being rewritten to ensure our victory." Vlekth ships began to fail in cascading patterns. Some found their weapon systems existing in states where they had never been installed. Others discovered their hull integrity existing in quantum superposition with total structural failure. Reality itself seemed to turn against the alien armada. "This isn't combat anymore," Harrison whispered. "We're not fighting their ships. We're fighting probability itself. And we're winning." In the space of 20 minutes, the mighty Vlekth armada, terror of 1,000 worlds, had been reduced to floating hulks and quantum impossibilities. The uncertainty hung in space, its quantum field pulsing with power that even Harrison no longer fully understood. "Send word to your empire," Captain Reeves transmitted to the surviving Vlek ships. "Humanity stands ready to defend itself. We don't seek war, but we will not submit." But as the remnants of the alien fleet retreated in disarray, Harrison stared at her quantum readings with growing concern. The ship's probability field was still expanding, still growing stronger. They had won the battle, but they had also unleashed something that humanity might not be able to control. The universe itself was changing, one quantum state at a time, and the uncertainty was at the heart of it all. Dr. Amanda Harrison stood in the uncertainty's quantum core chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing probability cascades that defied conventional physics. The battle had ended hours ago, but the ship's power continued to grow exponentially. "Look at these readings," she called to Captain Reeves, who had just entered the chamber. "The quantum field now extends beyond Neptune's orbit. It's not just choosing favorable realities anymore. It's creating them, forcing them into existence." Reeves studied the swirling patterns of quantum data. "What exactly are we looking at, Doctor?" "The birth of something new." Harrison manipulated the holographic display, expanding a particular set of readings. "When we first built the uncertainty, we thought we were creating a ship that could choose the best possible quantum states. But we were wrong. We didn't build a ship at all." The quantum core pulsed, its light seeming to bend in impossible ways. "We built a focal point," Harrison continued, "a nexus where all possible realities converge. The ship isn't just selecting favorable outcomes, it's becoming a new fundamental force of the universe itself." Lieutenant Park's voice crackled over the intercom. "Doctor, Captain, you need to see this. The quantum field, it's affecting probability across the entire solar system." They rushed to the bridge, where the main view screen displayed a startling sight. Everywhere the quantum field touched, reality seemed to optimize itself. Orbital paths became more stable. Solar flares curved away from inhabited worlds. Even the chaotic storms of Jupiter had begun moving in mysteriously beneficial patterns. "It's not just affecting military outcomes," Harrison explained, her voice filled with awe. "The ship is optimizing everything it touches. It's like we've created a bubble of perfect probability, and it's growing larger by the minute." Suddenly, the quantum core surged. New readings flooded their screens as the ship's consciousness, there was no other word for it now, reached out across space and time. "My God," Harrison whispered, "it's showing us something. Possible futures, millions of them. In some, the Vlek return with weapons that could tear apart reality itself. In others, our victory leads to a peaceful exchange of knowledge. The ship isn't just seeing these futures, it's actively calculating how to guide us toward the best possible outcomes." Captain Reeves leaned forward, studying the streams of potential futures. "Can we control it?" "I don't think that's the right question anymore," Harrison replied. "We're not dealing with a weapon or even a ship. We've created something that exists beyond our understanding of reality. It doesn't need control, it needs partnership." As if in response to her words, the quantum core pulsed again. The holographic displays filled with new information, mathematical proofs that would revolutionize physics, designs for technology centuries ahead of their time, and most importantly, a path to peaceful coexistence with the Vlek Empire. "This is incredible," Reeves breathed. "It's not just showing us how to win a war, it's showing us how to prevent one." Harrison nodded, understanding finally dawning. "That's been its purpose all along. We thought we were building the ultimate weapon, but we actually created something far more powerful, a bridge between what is and what could be. The uncertainty doesn't just manipulate probability, it guides reality itself toward optimal outcomes." The quantum field continued to pulse, each wave bringing new insights, new possibilities. They saw futures where humanity and the Vlek worked together, sharing knowledge and resources. They saw technologies that could end scarcity, heal worlds, and unlock the deepest mysteries of the universe. "We have to make a choice," Harrison said finally. "We can use this power to dominate, to force our will upon reality itself. Or we can use it to guide, to nurture, to help all species find their best possible futures." Captain Reeves stared at the swirling quantum patterns, watching as reality itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for humanity's decision. "The Vlekth will expect us to destroy them. Their entire empire is built on the principle of absolute victory or total defeat. Then perhaps," Harrison smiled, "it's time to show them another possibility. One where victory means choosing peace when you have the power for war." Supreme Commander Krasful stood before the combined Council of Earth, his massive form diminished somehow by recent events. The uncertainty hovered in orbit above, its quantum field now visible to the naked eye. A shifting aurora of possibility that encompassed the entire Earth-Moon system. "In 1,000 years of conquest," Krasful began, his translator struggling to convey the complex emotions in his voice, "the Vlekth Empire has never known defeat. We have never surrendered. Until today." Dr. Amanda Harrison watched from her position beside Captain Reeves, knowing that this moment would reshape galactic history. The quantum readings from the ship showed countless possible futures branching from this exact point in time. And somehow, impossibly, they were all trending toward peace. "Your quantum vessel," Krasful continued, "has demonstrated power beyond our comprehension. You could destroy our empire with a thought, rewrite reality itself to erase our existence. And yet," he paused, mandibles clicking in confusion, "you offer peace." Captain Reeves stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "The uncertainty has shown us possibilities beyond conflict. Futures where our species work together, where we both achieve heights neither of us could reach alone." The quantum core pulsed, and holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber. They showed visions of joint human-Vlekth colonies, shared scientific discoveries, and technological advances that merged both species' strengths. The ship wasn't just predicting these futures, it was actively calculating paths to achieve them. "Impossible," whispered Velmoran, the Vlekth chief scientist. Then her compound eyes widened as she studied the quantum equations flowing through the display. "No, not impossible. Inevitable, if we choose it." Harrison moved to the central platform, pulling up the ship's latest readings. "The uncertainty isn't just a weapon. It's become a bridge between what is and what could be. It's showing us that victory doesn't have to mean destruction. Sometimes, the most powerful choice is to help your enemy become your ally." The ship's quantum field rippled, and suddenly every being in the chamber experienced a moment of perfect clarity. They saw the branching paths of probability, the interwoven futures where cooperation led to achievements neither species could imagine alone. They saw their children's children working together among the stars. "The choice is yours," Reeves addressed the Vlekth commander. "We could use the uncertainty's power to enforce peace through strength. But we're offering something more valuable, peace through partnership." Krasful stood silent for a long moment, his ancient species' warrior pride warring with the undeniable future he had glimpsed. Finally, he spoke. "In all our conquests, no species has ever shown such power combined with such restraint. Perhaps this is why we were meant to find Earth." The surrender ceremony became a peace conference. The uncertainty's quantum technology, carefully modified and limited for peaceful applications, would be shared between both species. Joint research teams would study the ship's capabilities, learning to guide reality toward better outcomes rather than forcing them. "We did it," Reeves said quietly to Harrison as they watched humans and Vlekth beginning to work together. "We won without destroying them." Harrison smiled, watching the quantum field's peaceful pulses. The ship knew all along. Every test, every battle, every seemingly random event was guiding us toward this moment. It wasn't just preparing for war, it was preparing for peace. Above them, the uncertainty continued its silent vigil, its quantum field encompassing both species in a protective embrace of optimized probability. It had become more than a weapon, more than a ship, more than even its creators had imagined. It was a guardian of possibility itself, ensuring that humanity's first steps into a larger galaxy would lead toward cooperation rather than conquest. As the sun set on this historic day, the quantum field shimmered with countless potential futures, and for the first time in a millennium, both humans and Vlek looked to those futures not with fear or aggression, but with hope and shared purpose. The greatest victory, they had learned, was not in dominating reality, but in working together to guide it toward its best possible path.